Company Intelligence Report 2016/113. Russia-US presidential election, Republican candidate Trump's prior activities in St. Petersburg summary. Two knowledgeable St. Petersburg sources claim Republican candidate Trump has paid bribes and engaged in sexual activities there, but key witnesses silenced and evidence hard to obtain. Both believe Azari, a business associate of Trump, Aras Aguilera, will know the details. Detail 1. Speaking to a trusted compatriot in September 2016, two well-placed sources based in St. Petersburg, one in the political business elite and the other involved in the local services and tourist industry, commented on Republican U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump's prior activities in the city. 2. Both knew Trump had visited St. Petersburg on several occasions in the past and had been interested in doing business deals there involving real estate. The local business/political figure, elite political figure, reported that Trump had paid bribes there to further his interests, but very discreetly and only through affiliated companies, making it very hard to prove. The local services industry source reported that Trump had participated in sex parties in the city too, but that all direct witnesses to this recently had been, quote, silenced, that is to say, bribed or coerced to disappear. 3. The two St. Petersburg figures cited believe an Azeri business figure, Aras Aguilera, with offices in Baku and London, had been closely involved with Trump and in Russia and would know most of the details of what Republican presidential candidate had got up to there. 14 September 2016. Company Intelligence Report 2016/130, Russia Kremlin assessment of Trump and Russian interference in U.S. presidential election. Summary. Buyer's remorse sets in with Kremlin over Trump support operation in U.S. presidential election. Russian leadership disappointed that leaked emails on Clinton have not had greater impact in campaign. The Russians have injected further anti-Clinton material into the plausibly deniable leaks pipeline, which will continue to surface, but best material already in public domain. Putin angry with senior officials who overpromised on Trump, and further heads likely to roll as a result. Foreign Minister Lavrov may be next. Trump supported by Kremlin because seen as divisive anti-establishment candidate who would shake up current international status quo in Russia's favor. Lead on Trump operation moved from Foreign Ministry to FSB and then to Presidential Administration, where it now sits. Detail 1. Speaking separately in confidence to a trusted compatriot in early October 2016, a senior Russian leadership figure and a foreign ministry official reported on recent developments concerning the Kremlin's operation to support Republican candidate Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential election. The senior leadership figure said that a degree of buyer's remorse was setting in among Russian leaders concerning Trump. Putin and his colleagues were surprised and disappointed that leaks of Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton's hacked emails had not had greater impact on the campaign. 2. Continuing on this theme, the senior leadership figure commented that a stream of further hacked Clinton material already had been injected by the Kremlin into compliant Western media outlets like WikiLeaks, how about New York Times and CNN, which remains at least plausibly deniable, so a stream of these would continue through October and up to the election. However, he understood that the best material the Russians had already was out, and there were no real game changers to come. Three, the Russian Foreign Ministry official who had direct access to the Trump support operation reported that Putin was angry at his subordinates over-promising on a Republican presidential candidate, both in terms of his chances and reliability, and being able to cover and contain the US backlash over Kremlin interference. More heads therefore were likely to roll, with the MFA the easiest target. Ironically, despite his consistent urging of caution on the issue, Foreign Minister Lavrov could be the next one to go. 4. Asked to explain why Putin and the Kremlin had launched such an aggressive Trump support operation in the first place, the MFA official said that Russia needed to upset the liberal international status quo, including on Ukraine-related sanctions, which was seriously disadvantaging the country. Trump was viewed as divisive in disrupting the whole US political system, anti-establishment and a pragmatist with whom they could do business. As the Trump support operation had gained momentum, control of it had passed from the MFA to the FSB and then into the presidential administration where it remained, a reflection of its growing significance over time. There was still a view in the Kremlin that Trump would continue as a divisive political force even if he lost the presidency and may run for and be elected to another public office. 12th October 2016. Company Intelligence Report 2016/134, Russia-US presidential election, further details on Kremlin liaison with Trump campaign. Summary. Close associate of Sechin confirms his secret meeting in Moscow with Carter Page in July. Substance included offer of large stake in Rosneft in return for lifting sanctions on Russia. Page confirms this is Trump's intention. Sechin continued to think Trump could win presidency up to 17 October, now looking to reorient his engagement with the US. Kremlin Insider highlights the importance of Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen in covert relationship with Russia. Cohen's wife is of Russian descent and her father a leading property developer in Moscow. Detail 1. Speaking to a trusted compatriot in mid-October 2016, a close associate of Rosneft President and Putin ally Igor Sechin elaborated on the reported secret meeting between the latter and Carter Page, of US Republican presidential candidate's foreign policy team, in Moscow in July 2016. The secret meeting had been confirmed to him by a senior member of Sechin's staff, in addition to by the Rosneft president himself. It took place on either 7th or 8th July, the same day or the one after Carter Page made a public speech to the Higher Economic School in Moscow. 2. In terms of the substance of their discussion, Sechin's associate said that the Rosneft president was so keen to lift personal and corporate Western sanctions imposed on the company that he offered Page/Trump's associates the brokerage of up to a 19% privatized stake in Rosneft in return. Page had expressed interest and confirmed that were Trump elected US president, then sanctions on Russia would be lifted. According to Sechen's close associate, the Rosneft president had continued to believe that Trump could win the US presidency right up to 17th October, when he assessed this was no longer possible. Sechen was keen to readapt accordingly and put feelers out to other business and political contacts in US instead. Speaking separately to the same compatriot in mid-October 2016, a Kremlin insider with direct access to the leadership confirmed that a key role in the secret Trump campaign-Kremlin relationship was being played by the Republican candidate's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. Well, now we have a portion of the Steele document blacked out, where probably the name of his wife is mentioned. Let me see, in another copy of this document, do I have this information? Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. No, probably, yes. Well, Michael Cohen is, you know who he is, of that very special nation. And this information is blacked out. It's blacked out from the secret dossier. So we don't know exactly what Her Majesty and the US intelligence knows about this. Source comment. Sechen's associate opined that although Page had not stated it explicitly to Sechen, he had clearly implied that in terms of his comment on Trump's intention to lift Russian sanctions if elected president, he was speaking with the Republican candidate's authority. Now, company comment is also entirely blacked out on this crucial page about the Russian spy, Michael Cohen. Of course, all these Jews are actually Russians, and his wife is an actual Russian whose father is in KGB. Michael Cohen, is that person that comes on the CNN? My God, my dear God, with the round glasses. No, this is the other one. Yeah, this is the other one that makes faces. Oh lordy. By the way, I'd like to say that the country, when Comey was asked what Gazprom is, he didn't know. A country that has such an official in counterintelligence, chief of US counterintelligence, does not deserve to survive and does deserve that a Russian spy becomes US president. Now, the previous section we've read is from 18 October 2016. Let's go further. Company Intelligence Report 2016/135. Russia-US presidential election. The important role of Trump lawyer Cohen in campaign's secret liaison with the Kremlin. Summary. Kremlin insider outlines the important role played by Trump's lawyer Cohen in secret liaison with Russian leadership. Cohen engaged with Russians in trying to cover up scandal of Manafort and exposure of Page, and meets Kremlin officials secretly in the EU in August in pursuit of this goal. These secret contacts continue but are now farmed out to trusted agents in Kremlin-linked institutes so as to remain plausibly deniable for Russian regime. Further confirmation that sacking of Ivanov and appointments of Vaina and Kirienko linked to need to cover up Kremlin's Trump support operation. Detail 1. Speaking in confidence to a long-standing compatriot friend in mid-October 2016, a Kremlin insider highlighted the importance of Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, in the ongoing secret liaison relationship between the New York tycoon's campaign and the Russian leadership. Cohen's role had grown following the departure of Paul Manafort as Trump's now here the Englishman puts two ends in Manafort. As Trump's campaign manager in August 2016, prior to that, Manafort had led for the Trump side. 2. According to the Kremlin insider, Cohen was now heavily engaged in a cover-up and damage limitation operation in the attempt to prevent the full details of Trump's relationship with Russia being exposed. In pursuit of this aim, Cohen had met secretly with several Russian presidential administration legal department officials in an EU country in August 2016. The immediate issues had been to contain further scandals involving Manafort's commercial and political role in Russia/Ukraine and to limit the damage arising from exposure of former Trump foreign policy advisor Carter Page's secret meetings with Russian leadership figures in Moscow the previous month. The overall objective had been to sweep it all under the carpet and make sure no connections could be fully established or proven. 3. Things had become even hotter since August on the Trump-Russia track. According to the Kremlin insider, this had meant that direct contact between the Trump team and Russia had been farmed out by the Kremlin to trusted agents of influence working in pro-government policy institutes like that of law and comparative jurisprudence. Cohen, however, continued to lead for the Trump team. 4. Referring back to the surprise sacking of Sergei Ivanov as head of presidential administration in August 2016, his replacement by Anton Vaino, and the appointment of former Russian President Sergei Kirienko to another senior position in the presidential administration, the Kremlin insider repeated that this had been directly connected to the Trump support operation and the need to cover up now that it was being exposed by the US government in the Western media. Company comment. The Kremlin insider was unsure of the identities of the PA officials with whom Cohen met secretly in August, or the exact dates and locations of the meetings. There are significant internal security barriers being erected in the presidential administration as the Trump issue became more controversial and damaging. However, he continued to try to obtain these. 19th October 2016. Company Intelligence Report 2016/166. US-Russia. Further details of secret dialogue between Trump campaign team Kremlin and associated hackers in Prague. Summary. Trump's representative Cohen, accompanied to Prague in August-September 2016 by 3 colleagues, for secret discussions with Kremlin representatives and associated operators/hackers. Agenda included how to process deniable cash payments to operatives, contingency plans for covering up operations, and action in event of a Clinton election victory. Some further details. So only in the event of Clinton election victory, so Trump could be placed by the real Americans just to catch this nest of spies. Some further details on Russian representatives, operatives involved, Romanian hackers implied, and the use of Bulgaria as bolt hole to lie low. Anti-Clinton, so Romanian hackers and Bulgaria as a bolt hole, a UA nation, a bolt hole to KGB operatives. Anti-Clinton hackers and other operatives paid by both Trump team and Kremlin, but with ultimate loyalty to head of presidential administration Ivanov and his successors. Detail. We reported previously on secret meetings held in Prague, Czech Republic in August 2016 between the then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's representative Michael Cohen and his interlocutors from the Kremlin working under cover of Russian NGO Rosotrudnichestvo. Now we have a second paragraph where information is blacked out in the secret dossier released to the public for delectation. So the blacked out person provided further details of these meetings and associated anti-Clinton/Democratic Party operations. Cohen had been accompanied to Prague by 3 colleagues, and the timing of the visit was either in the last week of August or the first week of September. One of their main Russian interlocutors was Oleg Solodukhin, operating under Rosotrudnichestvo cover. According to Blacked Out, the agenda comprised questions on how deniable cash payments were to be made to hackers who had worked in Europe under Kremlin direction against the Clinton campaign and various contingencies for covering up these operations and Moscow's secret liaison with Trump team more generally. Now all is blacked out. Oh my God, we are now in strange territory. So 3. Blacked Out reported that over the period March-September 2016, a company called Blacked Out and its affiliates had been using botnets and pawn traffic to transmit viruses, plant bugs, steal data, and conduct altering operations against the Democratic Party leadership. Entities linked to one Blacked Out were involved in, and he and another hacking expert, both recruited under duress by the FSB, Blacked Out, were significant players in this operation. In Prague, Cohen agreed contingency plans for various scenarios to protect the operation, but in particular what was to be done in the event that Hillary Clinton won the presidency. It was important in this event that all cash payments owed were made quickly and discreetly, and that cyber and other operators were stood down/able to go effectively to ground to cover their traces. We reported earlier that the involvement of political operatives Paul Manafort and Carter Page and secret Trump Kremlin liaison had been exposed in the media in the run-up to Prague, and that damage limitation of these also was discussed by Cohen with the Kremlin representatives. 4. In terms of practical measures to be taken, it was agreed by the 2 sides in Prague to stand down various Romanian hackers, presumably based in their homeland or neighboring Eastern Europe, and that other operatives should head for a bolt hole in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, where they should lay low. On payments, Ivanov's associates said that the operatives involved had been paid by both Trump's team and the Kremlin, though their orders and ultimate loyalty lay with Ivanov, as head of the presidential administration of Putin and thus ultimately responsible for the operation, and his designated successors after he was dismissed by President Putin in connection with the anti-Clinton operation in mid-August. This is December 2016, so no, 13th December 2016, so no wonder much of it is blacked out because now the panic had set in. Now a few words from me. This document was released personally by Her Majesty the Queen because she controls MI6, and certainly a person like Christopher Steele, who was head of the Russia desk at MI6, would not divulge this information if it was not approved by the highest instance in the United Kingdom, which is the old woman, that is the Queen, who has participated with Putin in committing Brexit. And now today, on 26 November 2017, it is revealed that Boris Johnson is a Russian spy. This is the biggest scandal in US history, and I have to say that if Trump doesn't go to jail for this and many other associates of his, America ceases to exist as a serious country, and already the damage is done because the KGB operatives have said publicly that they think that their investment in Trump was worth it just because of the TPP destruction that he effected, and that they have no buyer's remorse because the chaos that he is generating is certainly something that Kremlin could only dream about.